life series
Hello and welcome to episode 112 of Spurbs Herbs. Today we're doing an interesting, very popular, very commonly used Western herb. We're going to be talking about milk thistle, or Silybum marianum. Let's see what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be exploring another herb of the world, milk thistle or Silybum marianum. This is a very common herb used to treat and quote-unquote cleanse the liver. But does it work? Is it safe? Who, if anybody, should take it? We will answer these questions and more. And as usual, we'll be adding something a little different. We're going to go deep into discussing toxins and cleanses. It's going to be another enlightening discussion of herbs, so please stay with us and join us as we go down this journey. Before we do that, I do want to tell you that we have an amazing special that's going to be ending soon. We have an absolutely amazing special for our courses. If you use them for continuing education, professional development, or just for your own edification, we are offering 50 hours of courses for an unbelievable price. Normally this would cost $750. However, with the special code 50CEUS, that's 50CEUS, this is going to be only $325, or considerably less than half of the normal price. Plus, you can get a free signed copy of one of my books. Just pay for shipping and handling. That is a free copy of Integrative Pharmacology, combining modern pharmacology with integrative medicine, or Playing the Game, a step-by-step approach to accepting insurance as an acupuncturist. Just go to the webpage www.integrativemedicinecouncil, that's council.org/CEUS1. That's www.integrativemedicinecouncil.org/CEUS1 for this amazing deal. But hurry, as I said, it's going to end soon. So, very early in doing this podcast, episode 16 to be exact, so almost 100 episodes ago, I talked about toxins. That's at least 4 or 5 years ago. I talked about toxins. Since our herb today, milk thistle, is one of the main herbs used in dealing with liver quote-unquote toxins and is included in most cleanses and pretty much all liver cleanses, I thought we would revisit at least some of that long ago discussion of toxins and add in a look at cleanses. I will warn you, this is a little controversial, and I expect some of my colleagues would disagree and be angry with me. But I will say the last time I discussed it, many told me they agreed wholeheartedly with my views. So they're a little bit different than the mainstream, as usual. So let's get to the heart of the matter. What are toxins? I'm going to go on record and create some controversy right now. In this context, there is no such thing as toxins. They are simply a marketing ploy to get people to part with their hard-earned shekels. I'm not saying toxins don't exist. They absolutely do. But not like this. And there is no freaking way an acai, bumbleberry, seaweed, ocean rock, special salt from the hidden waterfall in the shrine of the god of the moment, wrapped in a super duper infrared sauna, tuned to the wavelength of the ancient Greek oracles while getting a cold brew coffee grown from the sacred mountains of Africa, enema, and playing cosmic tuning forks in the background is going to help you get rid of them. Nothing you eat, drain, fast, cleanse, paste, soak, or wipe is going to help either. Okay, let's take a step back. Let's start with, there are toxins. From a biological, medical point of view, a toxin is an exogenous or endogenous substance. So exogenous means it comes from outside of the body, endogenous means it comes from within the body. Substance that causes harm to an organism. These can be a poison, a harmful chemical, a normal substance at toxic doses, pretty much anything that is harmful to the body. But here's the thing. The body can handle these things or you get really sick. The body has lots of mechanisms to get rid of toxins, from not absorbing them in the first place, to dealing with them through the liver, to eliminating them through urine or stool, or even sometimes off-gassing through breathing and through sweat. I mean, there's lots of ways to eliminate these. The liver's job is to filter the blood and convert substances into easier to excrete substances. We talk about this on almost every episode of Spurb Service. Even if you're not familiar with it, I almost always mention cytochrome P450, which is one of these enzymes in the liver that convert substances into easier to excrete substances. If a substance doesn't use these systems, it can't be eliminated from the body. Some heavy metals can be like this, and heavy metals are often what are talked about when it comes to toxins, but we'll get there in a second. A substance can also overwhelm these systems and cannot be excreted in adequate quantities. This will generally make you very sick. If you really have a lot of heavy metal toxins in your system, you're going to be very sick. A little bit of heavy metals the body does well with. A lot of heavy metals will make you sick, and there's almost no in between. What there isn't is some ill-defined sickness-inducing toxin that our body hides away and needs special activities to get rid of. But here's the thing. A lot, not all, of the proposed regimens are actually helpful to health, in my opinion. I am a believer in fasting. It is traditional in many spiritual and religious traditions, and the research probably shows it is beneficial for health. But fasting is not about toxins. Some people have co-opted it to be about toxins, but it is not about toxins. Eating a clean diet, drinking lots of fluids, and having regular and beneficial excretions are very helpful for health. But again, these have nothing to do about toxins, quote unquote toxins. Those are just good, normal, healthy things to do. Cleansing diets and fasts not only do not do anything with any toxins, they can be very harmful. From a Chinese point of view, they are exactly the kind of treatments many of the best historical doctors railed against. Purgative herbs, some of our harshest and potentially most harmful herbs, given willy-nilly, lots of extremely cold or hot herbs given without any diagnosis, that goes directly against Chinese medicine. Now, all of these can be helpful in the right patient, but to have them available over the counter and to be used by people who don't know what they're doing, they're harmful. Enemas may be helpful for certain things, but generally Chinese medicine is not a major supporter. I still remember my martial arts instructor who said, I don't like enemas, they go in the wrong direction. So everything should flow in the correct direction. Wraps and massages of any sort, no way. Yes, massage helps circulation and is very helpful in other ways as well. I love my massages. I haven't had one for a very long time. I need one. They're good, but they help get rid of so-called toxins? No. That is not to say that toxins do not play a role in traditional healing regimen. Ayurveda talks about toxins, and I'm sure other traditions do as well. And they can be, in especially Native American traditions, often talk about similar things. They can be very important in Chinese medicine as well. These aren't the airy, nondescript, quote, toxins, unquote, that are treated by any of the things we have discussed here. Let's talk about this. So I'm just not a believer in these quote unquote toxins at all. So let's talk about the science of detoxes and cleanses. By the way, what I believe, I said I don't believe in any of these things. What I believe in or don't believe in doesn't matter. I don't care, my beliefs are my beliefs, your beliefs are your beliefs, who cares? The bottom line is there is no evidence for those toxins. That doesn't mean there might be evidence in the future, in which case I will change my mind because that's what I do. But as of right now, there's no evidence for these quote-unquote toxins. I do not believe they exist. I don't think there's any evidence that they exist, and therefore, I'm not a believer. Okay, let's switch this a little bit. Let's talk about the science of detoxes and cleanses. And the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, which if you're not familiar with this National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, it is a subdivision of the National Institute of Health in the U.S., the NIH. Okay, I'm going to get a touch political. I hate being political. Before RFK Jr. got their hands on it, was the pinnacle of medical science in the U.S. I mean, like, if it came out of the National Institutes of Health, it's pretty darn solid information. And so this is a they have several centers under the National Institutes of Health, and National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health is there. I don't always agree with what they say, but it's always science-based and very high-level evidence in general. I admire this. I would love to work for them. Let's put it that way. The National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health has a really nice summary of these detoxes and cleanses. Detoxification programs may involve a variety of approaches, including, and this is a quote from them, fasting, drinking only juices or similar beverages, eating only certain foods, using dietary supplements or other commercial products, using herbs, cleansing the colon, the lower intestinal tract with enemas, laxatives, or colon hydrotherapy, also called colonic irrigation or just colonics, reducing environmental exposures, and using a sauna. There have been only a small number of studies on detoxification programs in people. While some have had positive results on weight and fat loss, insulin resistance, and blood pressure, the studies themselves have been of low quality, with study design problems, few participants, or lack of peer review, meaning evaluation by other experts, to ensure quality. Without those things, they are not strong studies at all. And you know, if you've been listening to Superbs Herbs, that I always talk about how many participants there are in a study, because that is a major determination as to the strength of that study. And if you only have 5 or 10 or 15 or even 40 participants, it's too small to make any sort of leaps into populations. Continuing with this NCIA, the National Centers of Complementary and Integrative Health, a 2015 review concluded that there was no compelling research to support the use of detox diets for weight management or eliminating toxins from the body. And I'm going to go on record here. I do not like diets. I don't think they work. Even the best weight loss program is about 90 to 95% ineffective, only 5 to 10% effective. If you get the right one, all the power to you. I've been on many diets in my life, and I've had some very successful ones, but eventually I stopped doing it. And right now I think eating healthier is just the way to go, and not worry so much about this, that, or the other thing in your diet, so long as you're overall making healthy choices. In 2007, so even though it can help with weight management initially, it has no long-term support at this point. And that's most diets. A 2017 reviews, remember, are generally much stronger research than just an individual study, because they combine multiple studies into the review. So a 2017 review said that juicing and detox diets can cause initial weight loss because of low intake of calories, but they tend to lead to weight gain once a person resumes a normal diet. You deprive yourself of certain foods that your body wants and you think you want emotionally and mentally, and then when you come off of these restrictions, you tend to overindulge in those foods you wanted to have previously. So that's a major reason why they don't work. There have been no studies on long-term effects of detoxification programs, and that's a good and bad thing. I mean, maybe there are some positive long-term effects. I'd love to see some long-term studies on detoxification programs, but without them, we have no ability to know that there's positive long-term effects, and there could just as easily be negative long-term effects of them. And they are not safe and can have numerous adverse effects. Now, the NCCIH had a long list of what could go wrong with these detoxifications. I decided not to put that in just because we were getting a little short on time with this particular episode, but also because some of them I didn't really agree with. I thought they were a risk. I didn't think they were a great risk, but some of them were a little bit more. But you can look that up if you want to look at some of the not safe and adverse effects. And I will go on record in saying that a lot of the herbs that I see in cleanses are harmful if not taken properly. And so I am very concerned about the herbal detoxes that are out there. But let me leave you with one final thought about all of this. And the question is, why are cleanses and the concept of toxins so popular? I would posit they provide a relatively easy and on the surface logical approach to deal with what ails us and gives us agency. We have the ability to help our own health, but they don't work. So why do they keep enduring? And the answer is simple, and this is the one that I want to leave with: because of money. Authors get lots of money from their books and articles. Herb producers make tons of money from the products. Practitioners make a lot of money from their clients and patients, etc. And we add in the biases of all these people. And patients think they feel better. You just spent hundreds of dollars on this program. You're going to have a bias that it's going to be helpful. Practitioners swear their patients are better. Of course they swear their patients are better. And they may have some patients who do get better. But overall, they may or may not be. Maybe their patients are lying to their practitioners. Maybe the practitioners are just saying their patients are better so they can sell more. There's bias there. And authors continue to write because that is how they make money. If they didn't write about these things, they would have to do other things to make money, etc. But the science is pretty darn clear. They don't do anything, and they may be harmful. Cleanses and toxins. Okay, so that was the beginning. Let's get into our herb of the day, milk thistle or Silybum marianum. It's in the family of Asteraceae, which we have covered several times before, and we'll cover it again in just a minute. The actual species is Silybum marianum with L in parentheses. That refers to Linnaeus, who's the first biologist who started to categorize everything, basically. And it's in parentheses because it's been replaced with a new categorization by the biologist, and this is what's there. It's GAERTN period. I haven't looked up that acronym, so I don't know exactly the botanist's name, but it's not an acronym, but it's a shortening of the biologist who actually has the current categorization of this herb. The medicinal part are the seeds. We're not really going to talk about it, but the plant itself can actually be used as food. Once you dethistle it, there's needles in it, and you can actually cook it up and eat it. It's supposed to be very healthy and tasty. But for us today, we're going to be looking at the seeds. Other names for this are different species, Carduus marianus, and then regular names, blessed milk thistle, Marian thistle, Mary thistle, Saint Mary's thistle, lady's thistle, lady's milk, Mediterranean milk thistle, variegated thistle, holy thistle, wild artichoke, daji or big thistle, shui fei ji or milk thistle seeds, and Scotch thistle. Some of its constituents, which can be used instead of these names, so sometimes you'll see these product names, include silibinin, silicristin, silidionin, silmar, silibin, silybum, and silymarin. We're going to talk a lot about silymarin, and we're going to find out that that's a conglomeration of many of these things I just mentioned. Before we do all that, let's talk about the Asteraceae family briefly. We have covered this family often, and here we are again. According to Britannica, the Asteraceae family, also called Compositae, is commonly known as the aster, daisy, or composite family of the flowering plant order Asterales. It includes more than 1,620 genera and 23,600 species of herbs, shrubs, and trees distributed throughout the world, and is one of the largest plant families in existence. That's a lot of plants, 1,620 genera and 23,600 species. There are many well-known plants in this family, including many garden ornamentals, weeds, including dandelion, ragweed, and thistle. And milk thistle is often considered a weed. Food crops, lettuce, artichoke, safflower, sunflower, and endive. And as well as several Chinese herbs are in this. This is why we've talked about it so much on our Superbs Herbs podcast. Members of the family have flower heads composed of many small flowers called florets that are surrounded by bracts or leaf-like structures. Bell-shaped disc florets form the center of each head. Star-shaped ray florets extend out like petals from the center and are sometimes reflexed or bent bent back. Another interesting article agreed with this overview and looked how this family plays a role in human health, including as an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and antimicrobial activity, as well as diuretic, in other words, promoting urination, and wound healing properties. In other words, a lot of herbs in the Asteraceae family have health benefits, and that's why we talk about them so much in this podcast. So what does milk thistle look like? What's the description of it? So Paulson and Minetti describe milk thistle. Quote, milk thistle is an annual or biennial plant. It has reddish purple flowers. It grows to 3 feet tall. It's often considered a weed and is native to Europe. It can also be found in the United States and South America. It grows in dry, rocky soils. And milk thistle seeds, Silybum marianum, have been used for hundreds of years to treat liver and gallbladder disease. I'm going to say maybe even thousands of years. Milk thistle contains a group of bioflavonoids called silymarin. That's important. I want to make this, because we're going to talk about silymarin a lot, and it is a group of bioflavonoids. There's several different chemicals in silymarin, so just kind of keep that in mind. They're made from the seeds of the thistle. The most active of the group is Silybum. These may protect the liver from damage. It works by stopping toxins from attaching to liver cells. And when I say toxins here, I mean the not quote unquote toxins. I'm talking about real toxins. It also stops free radicals and has been used to treat toxic mushroom poisoning, cirrhosis, and hepatitis. And we're going to talk about all of those in just a little bit. I don't like using Wikipedia, though. It's not a bad source, especially if you confirm what they say. But here we have Wikipedia says, milk thistle is an upright herb that can grow to be 30 to 200 centimeters or 12 to 79 inches tall and has an overall conical shape. The maximum base diameter is 160 centimeters or 63 inches. That's a pretty big base. The stem is grooved and may be covered in a light cottony fuzz. The larger specimens have hollow stems. The leaves are oblong to lanceolate and 15 to 60 centimeters or 6 to 23.5 inches long, and typically pinnately lobed with spiny edges like most thistles. They are hairless, shiny green with milk white veins. Remember those milk white veins? We're going to talk about those in just a minute. The flower heads are 4 to 12 centimeters long and wide, of red-purple color. They flower from June to August in the north or December to February in the southern hemisphere. The flower head is surrounded by bracts, which are hairless, with triangular, spine-edged appendages tipped with a stout yellow spine. The fruits are black achenes with a simple long white pappus. I don't even know how to pronounce some of this. Pappus or pappus, surrounded by a yellow basal ring. Okay, so there's a lot of words there I wasn't familiar with, so I'm going to explain them right now. Achenes are a type of simple dry fruit produced by many species of flowering plants. I guess it could be achenes as well. I don't know if it's achenes or achenes. It's A-C-H-E-N-E. Pappus or pappus is the modified calyx, the part of an individual floret that surrounds the base of the corolla tube in the flower. It functions as a dispersal mechanism for the achenes that contain the seeds. The long pappus acts as a parachute, supporting seed dispersal by wind. So it sounds like it's evolutionally made to very effectively spread the seeds on the wind. Let's talk about the history. Milk thistle, or Silybum marianum, has been used for centuries as a medicinal plant, according to folk traditions. Its characteristic violet flowers and white-veined leaves came from the Virgin Mary's milk. That's folk tradition. It is native to the Mediterranean and a member of Asteraceae family, which also includes sunflowers and daisies. The Greek physician and botanist Dioscorides, who lived from 40 to 90 AD, so we are talking millennia here, was the first to describe milk thistle's healing properties. Later in 1597, John Gerard noted that milk thistle was, quote, the best remedy against melancholy diseases. Melancholy meaning depression. Schwartz continued to discuss the history of milk thistle. Milk thistle's medicinal use stretches back to the earliest recorded civilizations. While its exact role in ancient Egyptian medicine is less clear, it was the Greeks and Romans who truly recognized its value. Dioscorides, a Greek physician and pharmacologist in the 1st century AD, was one of the first to document milk thistle in his renowned work De Materia Medica, or of medical materials. He described how it was used to treat snake bites and other toxins, noting its ability to expel bile, an early acknowledgement of its role in supporting liver function. Across the Mediterranean, the Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder also wrote about milk thistle in his Naturalis Historia. He praised the plant for its benefits in treating liver and gallbladder disorders, further solidifying its reputation as a liver tonic. The plant's name, Silybum marianum, comes from the Greek word silybon, meaning tassel or tuft, likely referring to its unique flower. These early references not only established milk thistle as a cornerstone of ancient herbal medicine, but also highlighted its enduring importance in treating liver-related conditions. As the centuries rolled on, milk thistle continued to play a vital role in herbal medicine across Europe. The Middle Ages were a time of significant advancement in the use of herbs, and milk thistle was no exception. It was during this period that the plant's medicinal reputation was further cemented by notable figures such as Hildegard von Bingen, a 12th century Benedictine abbess. Hildegard was a pioneering herbalist who included milk thistle in her writings, recommending it for treating liver and spleen disorders. By the Renaissance, milk thistle's status as a liver remedy was well established. In 1597, English herbalist John Gerard referred to it as, quote, the best remedy against melancholy diseases, unquote. We talked about that recently. A term linked to liver disorders, since the liver was traditionally seen as the seat of emotions, which is very much similar to Chinese medicine. Gerard's work was echoed across Europe, where herbalists like Pietro Andrea Mattioli and Linnaeus also endorsed milk thistle's benefits. Mattioli's 1626 Book of Herbs recommended it for jaundice, while Linnaeus described its use for an inflamed liver in 1679. Perhaps the most influential of these herbalists was Nicholas Culpeper, whose Complete Herbal, written in 1653, remains a key reference in herbal medicine. Culpeper highlighted milk thistle's ability to, quote, open the obstructions of the liver and spleen, unquote, reinforcing its role as a trusted remedy for liver health. So that's the history. Let's get into some of the traditional uses of milk thistle. We have already discussed several traditional uses of milk thistle. We've been talking about liver and spleen for a little bit. Stiltoe discusses several traditional uses. First one is liver support. Milk thistle contains silymarin, a complex of flavonoids and antioxidants known for its hepatoprotective effects. Hepatoprotective means protecting the liver. This means milk thistle is capable of shielding the liver from various sources of damage. As a result, it can protect liver cells, contribute to liver disease, tissue renewal, and improve liver health and function. So, have a question when looking up .g in the Materia Medica. Which .g is it? In the index, there are 3 listed. Oh, I have no idea. That is a good question, Christine. I don't know the answer to that. I have to do some more research on that, so I can get back to you. All right, so that was the first one that we talked about was liver support, several traditional uses. The second one is digestive issues. Traditionally, milk thistle helped to ease and prevent gastrointestinal and digestive difficulties, including bloating, heartburn, and indigestion. This is likely due to its anti-inflammatory properties, which can help soothe irritated gastrointestinal linings. Our third traditional use from still toe, or silly toe, I should say. Silly toe is what it is. Gallbladder support. Milk thistle was a typical solution for gallbladder issues in traditional medicine. Herbalists recommended it to improve gallbladder function and prevent gallstones from forming. In effect, milk thistle can help the gallbladder perform well by improving biosynthesis and helping it break down fats. And finally, the fourth traditional use, according to silly toe, is detoxification and cleaning. Traditional herbalists believe milk thistle cleanses the blood from toxins and poisons. Effectively, milk thistle does this indirectly by enhancing liver health. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It helps the liver, doesn't, and the liver does detoxification and clean, but I don't think it's any weird thing. This herb can help the liver detoxify properly, helping the body to eliminate pollutants, waste, and impurities. So I firmly disagree with this last function, but it is, according to silly toe, a traditional use. The PDR for herbal medicines, giant book on herbal medicines, says unproven uses of milk thistle include as a stimulant, quote, as a stimulant for functional disorders of liver and gallbladder, including jaundice, gallbladder, colic, and diseases of the spleen. The herb was formerly used as a malaria treatment, a menagogue, which means to force vomiting, and for uterine complaints. The drug is also used as an antidote to death cap mushroom poisoning. So that's interesting, and that is something that we're going to see in the science that it may very well be happy. It may very well do. The PDR also mentions that milk thistle is approved by Commission E for dyspeptic and liver and gallbladder complaints. So we've talked about Commission E quite a bit and Spurb's herbs, especially for more European herbs. But this was a commission put together by Europe and looked at and approved herbs. So when it's approved by the Commission E, at least at that point, there is support, scientific support for its use. So when you see something approved by Commission E, it's old. The research has changed quite a bit, but it's still a bit of a feather in the cap and says that herb probably does have some benefit. They say the drug is used for dyspepsia, crude drug, toxic liver damage, adjunctive treatment in chronic inflammatory liver disease, hepatic cirrhosis, so that's cirrhosis of the liver, and as a supportive treatment in chronic inflammatory disease. Stat pearls from the National Library of Medicine. So again, this is a governmental thing that in the past has been very well regarded. And stat pearls are their like shorter scientific overviews of different herbs and treatments geared towards doctors and their practice. So Stat Pearls says herbalists and physicians alike use the milk thistle, Silybum marianum, for hundreds of years to treat a wide range of liver pathology, including fatty liver disease, hepatitis and cirrhosis, and to protect the liver from environmental toxins. Today, millions of people consume milk thistle to support healthy liver function. And I would say, just right there is something that we're not going to get into, but this is not an herb in my mind that someone should be on for forever. And I see patients do that. It's good for the liver, so I'm going to be on it, and they just take it and take it and take it. It really should be prescribed for when there's liver pathology, and then taken off when there's no more pathology going on. That's my personal opinion, but there you go. WebMD discusses the use of milk thistle. People have traditionally used milk thistle for liver and gallbladder issues and to increase breast milk production. We haven't talked about that yet. Experts believe silymarin is the main active ingredient of the herb, and as I mentioned, that's more of a grouping of constituents rather than a single active ingredient. Silymarin is an antioxidant compound, there we go, taken from milk thistle seeds. It's unclear what benefits, if any, it may have in the body, but it's sometimes used as a natural treatment for things including cirrhosis, jaundice, viral hepatitis, and gallbladder disorders. Some claim milk thistle may also provide health benefits by lowering cholesterol levels, help with diabetes in people who have type 2 diabetes, and improve symptoms related to indigestion. By the way, we're going to see when we talk about science that all of those have some science to support them, even if it's not the strongest. According to the White Rabbit Institute, which I got to say, I find very useful information on the White Rabbit Institute. It's a good level from an herbalist perspective. In Ayurvedic medicine, milk thistle is used to enhance immunity, treat psoriasis, and as a liver tonic. Arab herbal medicine has a tradition of using milk thistle to treat infertility, poisoning, sexual dysfunction, and liver disease. So those are other traditional uses. So what is the dosage and preparation of milk thistle? Hachufusi and their team says milk thistle is orally administered and is available in capsules, tablets, or as a liquid extract containing ethanol extracted silymarin in doses of 250 to 750 milligrams. The daily dose varies, but the typical dose frequency is 2 to 3 times daily. The research shows that silymarin is generally safe in humans at standard therapeutic doses and is even well tolerated at higher doses of 700 milligrams 3 times a day for 24 weeks. So almost half a year, 6 months. Fugue Berman says silymarin, and if you're not familiar with Fugue Berman, that is a very respected name in herbalism and the science of herbs. Fugue Berman says silymarin is poorly soluble in water, so teas are not recommended. Dosage is recommended at capsules containing 100 to 200 milligrams of silymarin twice per day. Guerin, who wrote a wonderful book, in fact I have it here, it's called Western Herbs According to Traditional Chinese Medicine, a Practitioner's Guide. So it's a really good cross between Chinese medicine and European or Western medicine. And Guerin says dosage is 6 to 15 grams in decoction as a galactagogue. So galactagogue induces lactation. 3 to 6 milliliter tincture or 400 to 450 milligrams silymarin in a standardized extract, which is very much in line with what we just read of 100 to 200 milligrams twice a day. In the Herbal Medicine Maker's Handbook, a home manual, Green says milk thistle is most efficiently extracted by using pure 190 proof ethyl alcohol. So if you understand the proofing system, proof is 190 proof means it's 95% ethyl alcohol. You half the proof and you have the percentage of alcohol, ethyl alcohol. In other words, it is best extracted as an alcohol tincture that is almost pure alcohol. Since milk thistle is primarily an herb for the liver and a strongly alcoholic extract may not be the best approach for many patients, Green discusses a rather elaborate procedure to replace the alcohol with glycerin, and I didn't get into that because it was elaborate, but I just wanted to mention that there is a way to get rid of the alcohol and use glycerin instead. Holmes, who has a very large volume of books, again comparing more than Chinese medicine and Western medicine, but a lot of different traditions, and it's called The Energetics of Western Herbs. It says dosage is 8 to 14 grams in decoction and 2 to 4 milliliters of tincture at 1 to 2 strength and 40% ethanol. I really like Holmes when he talks about tinctures because he actually gives us enough information to deal with it, because just saying a tincture does not tell us how much alcohol or what the strength is or anything like that, but Holmes is very meticulous about explaining this is exactly the tincture strength. Quality. The only description of quality raw products I could find comes from Western Herbs According to Traditional Chinese Medicine. That's Guerin's book that we just mentioned. Good quality milk thistle seed is dark, whole, and shiny. Dull-looking seeds are acceptable, but of lesser quality. Good quality tincture is yellow in color. That's quality. Let's talk about Chinese medical actions. As this is a very popular Western herb, there are numerous descriptions of this herb in terms of Chinese medicine. Western Herbs According to Traditional Chinese Medicine, Guerin's book, says milk thistle is bitter, sweet, and neutral in temperature and enters the liver, spleen, and stomach. Its functions include supplements the liver, spleen, blood, and yin, abates vacuity heat and benefits spleen qi, and it clears heat and resolves toxins. So right there, I'm going to say there's some discrepancy on the temperature of this herb. Here, Garen is saying it's neutral in temperature, but he also says it clears heat, which we say then the herb should be at least cooling or cold. So we're going to keep that in mind as we go through some of these other descriptions of Chinese medicine. The energetics of Western herbs and materia medica, integrating Western and Oriental herbal medicine traditions. This is the Holmes book that I was talking about earlier too. It says milk thistle is pungent, bitter, warm, and dry, and enters the liver, heart, and lungs. So they say it's warm. That's interesting. He says it's warm. It says it decongests the liver, promotes digestion, and relieves jaundice, restores and protects the liver, and resolves toxicosis. It also warms the interior. There's a bunch of things here. Warms the interior, stimulates circulation, dispels colds. So that's the warm part of it. Promotes expectoration, urination, and menstruation, and dissolves stones. Vitalizes the blood, reduces congestion and moderates menstruation, stops bleeding and discharges, and promotes tissue repair and benefits the veins. Thank you, Christine, on finding that. I didn't realize it was part of the materia medica. I'm going to have to look that up. I forget to do that sometimes with some of these Western herbs. That's awesome. Okay. So the White Rabbit Institute says milk thistle is called daji or shui fei ji in Chinese and is bitter, warm, cool. So this is saying cool and dry and enters the liver and heart. They say it removes stagnation, promotes urination, dispels cold, stimulates qi, removes blood stasis, stops bleeding, and benefits the skin. Another website, meandqi.com, says the Chinese name for milk thistle is shui fei ji, and is in the category of herbs that clear heat and relieve toxicity. They say it is bitter and cool and enters the gallbladder and the liver. Its actions include clears heat and dispels toxicity, regulates the flow of qi in the liver, and tonify the gallbladder. So now that we just heard that it is actually part of the materia medica, I've got to look it up and tell you exactly. That was my mistake. I didn't even look it up. I forget sometimes to look up some of these Western herbs in that. So I apologize for that. But let me look that up while we're doing this. So that's page 567. Let me get there. 567. I have an online copy of it. I also have a full-on copy of it. Almost there. 566, 567. Okay, here we go. Daji. And no, I would say that is not milk thistle. The pharmacological name is Cerciae japonica herba sivradix. No, that's a totally different herb. But let me just see. Sometimes they'll have addendums that include it. No. Yeah, no, that's not the herb that I think we're talking about here. So that is an herb called daji. And it means large thistle, which is the same name so it is the same word because they have toe marks, so they can have the same name and have different toe marks, meaning it's different words. So this is interesting. Now I see some similarities, but I wouldn't put this in that definitely the same thing. And that's in the herbs that regulate the blood, which again I don't think I would put this herb to do that. So that's really interesting. So there we go. So I would say that's not. I don't think that is the same herb that we're talking about. So we have this dilemma. What does this herb do according to Chinese medicine? And to me, I look at all these sources, and they're all over the place. So the first thing is, I think Holmes has some interesting insight into the herbs, and he brings in a lot of traditions, but I don't think he has as strong of an understanding of Chinese medicine as some of the others do. So he says it's warm. I disagree. I think it's cool, cooling. So I don't think it's warm. The White Rabbit Institute is very interesting because it says it's warm and cool. Again, from a Chinese perspective, can't really be both. They're opposites. So I don't know exactly what to say there. And usually I think the White Rabbit Institute is very interesting. It has some really good insights into this. I tend to think, from a Chinese perspective, this should be in the clear heat and dispel toxicity sort of category of herbs, and that helps and may move the liver as well. But I think liver and gallbladder are good meridians for this to enter, and I think bitter and cool is probably where this is. So I would tend to be in that place, but I think, as we can see here, there's definitely some controversy as to what it does with Chinese medicine. Let's talk about some comparisons and combinations. The White Rabbit Institute says a potent liver tonic recipe combines milk thistle seeds, dandelion root, artichoke, and turmeric root. This combination heals, soothes, detoxifies, and gently stimulates the liver. So I want to say this here. We've been using this word detox. Some of these sources have used the word detoxify for traditional functions. But here I think they have it about right. They mention the word detoxify, but it really says heals, soothes, and gently stimulates the liver. And I think us thinking of this as more as a hepatoprotective, it protects the liver, and as a liver tonic, I think it's a much better way to look at what this herb does, as opposed to detoxifying. If the liver is doing its job well, you're supporting the liver, then the toxins that the liver needs to get rid of are going to be naturally taken care of. But I don't think this herb does anything to detoxify. That's my point. Western herbs, according to traditional Chinese medicine, that's the Guerin's book, has several combinations with white peony or bai xiao, dongui, and cramp bark for tendon contracture due to blood vacuity, with Chinese skullcap, huangqin, which we're going to talk about in our next episode, and yellow dock for urticaria and transient skin rashes, with skullcap and Chinese skullcap, that's again huangqin, for liver heat and toxin accumulation due to alcoholism, and with picoryza for hepatitis C. The energetics of Western herbs and materia medically integrated in Western and Oriental herbal medicine traditions, that's Holmes, says milk thistle enjoys an even better reputation than other known liver protectives, such as alfalfa herb, artichoke leaf, licorice root, lovage root, and shishandra berry. In other words, it's very well regarded as a liver tonic. Moving on quickly to contents. Siegel and Stebbing say the active component of milk thistle is silybum, also known as silybinin, which is usually derived from the seeds of the plant. Silymarin is a complex of biological compounds, flavolignans, that include silybum. These compounds are known to be antioxidants, in addition to having several other biological properties. The PDR for herbal medicines says the seed contains silymarin, flavolignin mixture of 1.5 to 3%. Chief components in that silymarin are silybin A, silybin B, mixture known as silybinin, isosilybin A, isosilybin B, silicristin, and silidionin. It also includes flavonoids, including apigenin, chrysoaryl, aryldictyol, naringenin, quercetin, which we've talked about when we've talked about other herbs, taxoflorin, and fatty oils of 20 to 30%. So there's a lot of oils in it. So that's the contents of milk thistle. Let's talk some science. Achufusi, all of a sudden the quote from The Martian came into my mind, and I can't repeat it. I can't. I guess I could and do it in a better way. Let's science the F out of this. So there we go. Achufusi and their team says milk thistle exhibits its hepatoprotective properties by three major mechanisms: an antioxidant, an anti-inflammatory, and an antifibrotic substance. Antifibrotic means anti-scarring, basically. The anti-inflammatory properties of milk thistle are attributable to its ability to regulate cytokines responsible for inducing inflammation. Milk thistle has been shown to downregulate and inhibit the expression of COX-2, that's cyclooxygenase 2, which is what most of our pain relievers, or over-the-counter pain relievers, do, a key mediator of inflammatory pathways. Silymarin also inhibits the transduction cascade controlled by NF-kappa beta. This protein complex induces the expression of pro-inflammatory genes, responsible for encoding cytokines directly involved in the inflammatory process. NF-kappa beta also regulates the survival of inflammatory T cells. So if we control this particular substance, protein complex, we have less inflammation. Studies done on mice showed Silybum reduced liver and plasma content of pro-inflammatory cytokines while increasing interleukin-10, a cytokine whose function is to decrease and regulate the inflammatory response. Milk thistle has also shown antioxidant properties in hepatocytes or liver cells and can inhibit free radicals derived from the metabolism of toxic substances such as ethanol, alcohol, acetaminophen or Tylenol, and carbon tetrachloride. This herb stimulates protein synthesis by protecting cell membranes from free radical-induced damage and directly inhibiting radical formation. Milk thistle can also act as a free radical scavenger and increase the intracellular content of scavengers. Studies have shown that silymarin increases superoxide dismutase activity and serum glutathione and glutathione peroxidase levels. Silybum can also act as an iron chelator, further strengthening its antioxidant properties. So now we're talking about some real toxins, iron, free radicals, things like that. Those are toxins, and that we see that this herb can help with those. In addition to its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, Silybum also shows promise as an antifibrotic agent, which is attributable to its ability to decrease platelet-derived growth factor, PDGF-induced DNA synthesis in cells, which inhibits the transformation of stellate hepatocytes, liver cells, into myofibroblasts or muscle cells that creates fibers or scars. By reducing myofibroblasts, Silybum indirectly prevents the deposition of collagen fibers that lead to the progression of liver injury. Finally, Silybum has demonstrated an association with a significant reduction of tumor growth factor beta, a key regulator in the pathogenesis of liver fibrosis. Continuing with science, Siegel and Stebbing have several insights into the science surrounding milk thistle, though it is becoming an older source. Milk thistle's use can range from the mundane, e.g. fighting hangovers, to potentially life-saving for patients who have ingested poisonous mushrooms, particularly Amanita death cap mushrooms, which release a specific toxin called amatoxin. A review of more than 2,000 patients exposed to Amanita mushrooms in Europe and North America suggested that intravenous silybum was the most effective therapy available against this toxin. Several smaller studies have also suggested that milk thistle compounds might have antiviral and anti-inflammatory effects. In particular, milk thistle might effectively treat hepatitis C, particularly when given intravenously. Other attempts at harnessing the hepatoprotective effects of milk thistle have been in patients undergoing chemotherapy, which can often be toxic to the liver. One randomized study of milk thistle in children undergoing aggressive chemotherapy for acute leukemia suggested that giving milk thistle improved liver function in some of the children. Similarly, there are several case reports in the scientific literature of patients undergoing chemotherapy who had raised concentrations of liver enzymes during treatment for leukemias that were perhaps improved by administration of milk thistle. Anti-cancer activity has not yet been clearly shown in trials in humans. Gubili also has some scientific insights for milk thistle. Preclinical studies indicate that flavonoids in milk thistle have antioxidant and anti-cancer effects and may protect against Alzheimer's disease. Data from randomized clinical trials show that silymarin can reduce aminotransferases in alcoholic liver disease, and conclusions from a systematic review suggest that it helps treat liver cirrhosis. Silybum, a constituent of silymarin, reduced liver toxicity associated with chemotherapy in children with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is mentioned in the other paper. A case study indicates the utility of intravenous silybum in patients co-infected with human immunodeficiency virus and hepatitis C virus. One of the mechanisms underlying the hepatoprotective effects of silymarin is via downregulation of extracellular matrix proteins such as collagen. Silymarin supplementation may also play a role in improving the glycemic profile in patients with type 2 diabetes. The Mayo Clinic says research on milk thistle use for specific conditions shows diabetes. Milk thistle might lower blood sugar in people who have type 2 diabetes, but more studies are needed to confirm its benefits. In indigestion and dyspepsia, milk thistle, in combination with other supplements, might improve the symptoms of indigestion and liver disease. Research on the effects of milk thistle on liver disease, such as cirrhosis and hepatitis C, has shown mixed results. The National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health summarizes the current research in the following way. Results from a small number of studies in people show that milk thistle extracts might help to control sugar in people with type 2 diabetes. Most of this research was done in Middle Eastern countries, and it is unclear whether the same results would be seen in other parts of the world. Results from clinical trials of milk thistle for liver diseases such as alcohol-related liver disease, hepatitis B and C, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and liver problems caused by cancer chemotherapy, low oxygen levels, or toxins have been conflicting or too limited to allow conclusions to be reached. 2 studies funded by the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, one on hepatitis C and one on non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, a progressive form of fatty liver disease, did not show benefits from supplementation with the milk thistle extract silymarin. It is unclear whether milk thistle has an effect on breast milk production. It is not known whether milk thistle is helpful for other conditions. Cooperman from consumerlabs.com, which is a fantastic source of information, discusses several potential actions of milk thistle and the science or lack thereof supporting these actions. Several systematic reviews and larger studies do show milk thistle can help sugar control in type 2 diabetes, and potentially help dyslipidemia in these patients. So that would be high cholesterol, things along those lines. Several different diseases of the liver are also discussed. Silymarin is thought to act as a liver protectant, owing to its antioxidant and regenerative properties, particularly in the liver. Several large reviews have suggested a benefit from silymarin use in people with metabolic-associated liver disease. Although silymarin is thought to act as a liver protectant, evidence of benefit in liver disease has been mixed. Milk thistle may help reduce the severity and frequency of hot flashes in postmenopausal women, as shown in a placebo-controlled study. So that's the science. Let's talk about drug-herb interactions. Milk thistle does not have any documented significant drug-drug interactions. However, since it does exert some effect on the cytochrome P450 enzyme system, it might affect certain drugs, including diazepam and warfarin. However, this effect is not potent or even moderate at recommended doses. In other words, we don't have to worry about it. A single case study indicates milk thistle may cause bleeding when combined with anticoagulants. Milk thistle may increase the hyperglycemic effects of anti-diabetic medication, so you need to be cautious with some of those. In an in vitro study, that means in glass, so this is not in humans and not in animals. In an in vitro study, constituents of milk thistle showed strong inhibition of intestinal UDP glucuronylyl transferases, causing a potential increase of exposure to raloxifene, a selective estrogen response modulator used in some cases of breast cancer. The American Herbal Products Association's Botanical Safety Handbook says milk thistle is an interaction class A, or herbs for which no clinically relevant interactions are expected. Several sources discuss drug-herb interactions as a concern. Those studies support the drug-herb interactions already discussed. The discrepancy comes from 2 places: using animal studies rather than clinical studies, and using constituents in vitro rather than whole extracts. I don't consider those to be real drug-herb interactions. They need to be shown in humans. Concerns. Most sources say milk thistle is generally safe. Cooperman says it is generally well tolerated, but infrequently can have a laxative effect and cause other gastrointestinal side effects. He also says there can be allergic reactions. The NCCIH says something similar. Milk thistle, when taken orally, appears to be well tolerated. Most common side effects are digestive symptoms such as bloating, nausea, and gas. Concerns have been raised about poor chemical and microbiological quality of milk thistle dietary supplements sold in the United States and other countries. In other words, make sure you're getting them from a good source. The Mayo Clinic agrees with these concerns and adds milk thistle can also cause headaches. Siegel and Stebbing say longer-term toxicology studies of milk thistle have not shown evidence of cancer promotion, and side effects for milk thistle components in human beings are usually mild. They include diarrhea, gastrointestinal upset, and transiently raised concentrations of liver enzymes. Proportions of active compounds vary widely in different preparations, and there are several different compounds available on the market and internet, even within oral formulations. Dosing has not been standardized, and there have been reports of contamination with mold, including aflatoxin, which is particularly concerning since it can cause liver cancer. The American Herbal Product Association's Botanical Safety Handbook says milk thistle is in safety class 1, herbs that can be safely consumed when used appropriately. And that is our herb today. We started our discussion today by discussing toxins and cleanses. From there, we trekked into one of the most commonly used Western herbs, milk thistle or Silybum marianum. This seems to be a very useful herb, though the science isn't super strong for treating the liver, which is what is usually thought to excel in. Surprisingly, it might be good for treating type 2 diabetes. It seems quite safe, with the study showing even very high doses to cause minimal adverse effects. Overall, another interesting herb that seems useful and still needs more research. In our next episode, we will be exploring another quite important Chinese herb, huangqin, Scutellaria radix, or Baikal skullcap root. This herb is in the Chinese medical subcategory of herbs that clear heat and dry dampness, under the category of herbs that clear heat. As one of the, quote, 3 yellows, it is commonly used and useful herb for clearing heat and draining damp in the upper burner, as well as many uses in pregnancy, including calming the fetus. And as usual, we will be exploring something a little different. I'm going to give you a little heads up. It's not a little different. It's very different when we go into this episode. Please join us for this scintillating episode. See you in 2 weeks. And I'd like to say thank you very much. If you like this podcast, please do us a huge favor. Give us a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast app, or subscribe, or both. We'd love it. And we thank you for even considering it. And don't forget our amazing continuing education deal at www.integrativeMedicineCouncil.org/CEUS1. CEUS1. You can always get in touch with me at drgreg@spurbsherbs.com or at our website, www.spurbsherbs.com. And as usual, we have quite the bibliography. This is a good long one. Thank you.